What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Higher Purpose Podcast, episode 11. Chris Wertman alongside
Brandon Petta. What's up, gang? 11 episodes. This is wild, dude.
It's like 11 weeks, plus or minus a few.
Yeah,
we've been good at it, consistent.
Yeah, dude. No,
I hope you guys are enjoying these. You know, we're trying to churn out one a week for you guys.
Heck yeah. No, they've been a lot of fun. And today, me and Chris were discussing. We didn't have a guest for this week. But I was thinking of some ideas, and I thought that this topic, I'm genuinely very interested to hear what Chris has to say about this. And the topic I asked Chris, I was like, what do you think about me interviewing you and asking you about what it was like to be in the bodybuilding show and how that, like, what got you interested in it and like how it caught your attention and the whole process behind it? Because obviously working out so much, like, it's going to come across people's minds. Like, you know what? I've been pushing the limits. I've been getting after, like, maybe this is something, like, that I would want to enter. And I think it's super important to hear the backstory from someone who's been there and been through the process of it all. And I think people really just would love and benefit from hearing from you, man.
Yeah. So I've done 4 competitions in my life. And it's through 2 competition seasons, we'll say. So I did 2 seasons where I competed twice while I was really, really lean, and then bulked back up, and then I did it again, got super lean, and then did 2 competitions. My last one was right before this, like, the COVID strike, and that competition I had placed second in 17 guys in the open class. It was always a dream of mine to become a professional bodybuilder. It was like a goal. At one point, it was my main driving factor in the gym.
Was that before, like, rewind for a second.
Yeah,
was this No, my bad.
Yeah.
I wasn't even getting into the first questions, but now that we're already into it, we might as well keep flowing. So wait, was your dream at the end of high school, like when you started lifting, or what, during high school, or when did you, like, really get introduced to it?
So I got introduced to weightlifting through baseball workouts, and then from there, when we were doing those workouts, I wanted more, so I was watching YouTube. Just like a lot of the kids these days are watching YouTube, and I would say that most of the influencers now aren't really competitors, but back when we were growing up, I'd say like 10 years ago, the people that were on social media and were on YouTube were competitive bodybuilders. So I was watching people like Jay Cutler, Ronnie Coleman, Phil Heath, Jeremy Buendia, Sadiq. Like, these are household names from about probably 5-10 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I remember watching, countless videos in Olympia season and just these monsters. And fresh out of high school, the goal was, like, I want to get huge. Like, I want to be like an open bodybuilder, massive legs, big, thick neck, arms, mm-hmm. everything. And then you kind of find out that they're not exactly natural. So maybe that isn't the best route, but they definitely inspired me, and that's what initially brought bodybuilding to my attention. And they would post the vlogs and the lifestyle, and you kind of see how they would live their life with the training, the eating, the getting ready for the competitions. And that was, like, the first time I was really exposed to the culture, I guess you could say, of bodybuilding, because it really is it's kind of like a pageantry. Mm-hmm. It's like showcasing your hard work all in one package on a given day, mm-hmm. Which is different than a lot of other sports. And most people actually don't even consider it really a sport. It's more of like a hobby. Or
is it in the Olympics or
no? There's powerlifting, which is completely different because you're training to perform on a given day. But really, bodybuilding, well, they say powerlifting, Olympic lifting, is training hard to be at your peak performance on the day of competition, where and you're probably looking your worst, to be honest, because you're all carb loaded and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And then bodybuilding is the exact opposite. You are working your tail off to look the absolute best of your life, but actually feel the worst and weakest of your life on that day. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's how I was initially kind of exposed to it. Went to school and started learning exercise science and dietetics. And I trained all throughout. Like, I loved working out, and it was always like I wanted to look good. And there was one summer that I got really lean, and looking back on it, everyone was like, dude, you should have competed. Like, in that moment though, like they always say, you don't realize things when they're right in front of you. Like, so I think it was summer of 2017, 2018, I was, like, ridiculously shredded, and I was not tracking macros. I was not doing planned cardio. I was just doing, like, my normal split, on my feet all day and eating clean is what I thought. And I was like having mood swings, low libido, and like I didn't even know what was going on. I was like I had seen like the bodybuilders, but I was like, I'm not that lean. But really looking back on it, I was probably down around 5-6% body fat.
Wow, and this was without the intention of even entering a competition.
No intention of entering. I was not quote unquote dieting. I just knew I was eating clean.
Wow.
And I wasn't messing up on my diet like at all.
How long would you say you were cutting, you think, at that point to get that lean?
So at that point, it was my junior year of college, I believe, and coming out after that. And I had, initially, it's kind of weird, but I wanted to cross train. So I started, it was that spring semester, so around January, going back to school of my junior year, I started to cross train, and I was like running with weighted vests on, and I was like, I just want to be a beast.
Yeah.
And so cardio became like a part of my routine, but like I said, it wasn't like structured, like, oh, I have to do it 20 minutes a day. It was just like something that I did because I enjoyed it on top of the weight training. And I think it was really cleaning up the diet and getting super clean with it that led me to getting that lean. But like I said, so probably in a matter of 6 months.
So it was like a six month time.
Yeah, it was like a slow, I mean, I wasn't even weighing myself yet. When I was in college, I didn't have a scale, I didn't have anything. So I didn't really know, I mean, and I didn't cut out everything, especially in the beginning. It was like I was still drinking every once in a while, going out and having meals with my girlfriend and stuff. So it wasn't like I was just like completely cold turkey on all that. And then that's when I actually started my Chris Wertman Physique Instagram account, and people would like comment like, "Yo, you should compete."
Oh, okay, wow. So all that happened prior to you even going into the competition. Okay.
So then you know, people are reaching out and telling me that, and I don't remember what happened. Something had happened. I think I broke my ribs. I know that.
You broke your ribs
in a freak accident. Yeah. Or no, I remember. I was on vacation actually in Disney, and I was watching a YouTube video. And I still remember this day. I was watching a YouTube video, and they were talking about how you get super lean. Because I was wondering, I was like, why? I used to tell my mom I'm tired. That's why I was snapping at her. So this is one of those side effects of getting that lean. So I was snapping at my mom, and for no reason. She'd be like, "Hey, can you do your laundry?" And I'd be like, "What do you mean?" And yes, I was super busy. I was working 2 jobs, and both of them were active jobs. And going to the gym, waking up at 4 a.m. So I blamed it on, I was like, I'm tired, I'm cranky. But little did I know that I actually had hormonal imbalances because of how lean I was getting. And then I watched a video about low libido. I believe it was Christian Guzman from dieting, because he was doing summer shredding. And I was on vacation in Disney, laying out by the pool, and I was like, almost immediately, I pull out my MyFitnessPal, because I did start to download it at the end when I created the Chris Wertman Physique Instagram account, and I was like, I gotta change this into at least maintenance. So I remember, like, literally just watching one video, I was like, wow, like, my hormones are in the gutter right now. Like, that's the reason I've been snapping. That's the reason, like, I have low libido. I gotta put some fat on. So I immediately went from, I'm living this healthy lifestyle, I'm shredded, this is awesome, to, wait, maybe I'm not doing as much good as I thought. So I immediately brought it up to maintenance, and I remember going back to my fall semester of college and being like, all right, let's bulk.
Yeah, let's bulk.
And then actually, that's when the broken ribs happen, and I probably like put on a quick like 10-15 pounds of like water and glycogen, and I felt much better. And then I kind of did that and hovered around there, and then it was right after Valentine's Day of 2019 that I decided I was going to compete. And I knew, like, I had bulked, I was about 25 pounds heavier than the last summer, and I knew that this time I was going to make that dig, and I was gonna step on stage.
But you were going to do it this time. Did you have any, like, doing it the next time, were you going to alter something since you were going to check your macros to make sure you were going to get your fats in this time? So,
believe it or not, you can have your fats in and hormones will still go to shit.
Okay.
So, yes, I did this time. So this time around, I had a game plan. I knew what my cardio was going to be. I knew what my training was going to be. Macros, calories, the whole 9 yards. And it really didn't take long at all. So I had started in February, and keep in mind, I've never bulked, I've never cut. So I had no idea, like 25 pounds, we talk about weight loss, like, oh, you're going to lose a pound or 2 a week. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe 16, 17, 18. You know, 4 or 5 months down the road, I'd be ready to do a show. Yeah, no, like 8 weeks later, I was feeling like crap, like lean as hell again, and like I wasn't even on like super low calories. I just super active. I'm learning, this is a thing about learning about my body too. I'm learning, okay, maybe I have a faster metabolism than I thought. So that first competition season was really hard because typically when you do get down to those super low body fat and you feel like just dog crap, like I remember like walking across the parking lot would be like draining, exhausting, and your mouth is constantly dry because of like low blood sugar, and there's a lot, they call it diet brain, but you almost get like lightheaded, kind of spacey, I'd like to say, like you're almost not present in the moment, because your body's in a sense of like a state of survival. And it only, this competition season, it only took me about 8 weeks to get to that point.
It only took you 8 weeks.
10 weeks. I was, shredded. There could, pinch my skin and it would snap right back. Like there was no fat on my body, and this was, and I pushed myself pretty hard because I was nervous about like 2 pounds a week. That sounds like a lot. And
sure.
I remember being really strict on myself going into it, and something we talk about a lot now is like refeed days. And I didn't have any planned refeed days. I didn't have a coach. I had nobody like looking after my prep, which is, I think, a big mistake when it comes to competing. Like you should have somebody at least overseeing your macros and everything. But I did have like one episode where like I was dieting for like 6, 7, 8 weeks hard, and I got lean. And I knew the competition wasn't for another like 8 weeks, like 2 months.
It's a long time. So like, what do you do at that point?
Yeah. So I had like, I remember an episode of like binging where I ate food that wasn't on my diet plan for the first time in 2 months, and like being that lean, and I just couldn't stop eating.
Yeah.
It was insane. I was at a party.
I
was at a party, and I was with my ex-girlfriend at the time, and I remember someone made a comment like, yeah, your boyfriend can eat a lot. And I was just housing food. Like that was
your party. Everyone else was on the alcohol, and you were just at the fucking food table.
Dude, it was bad. And that happened, and then after that, that was like, for me, that was like almost like a dog getting punished. I was like, you're never doing that again. Like, you got to show. I was so driven and dedicated on like doing this first show. And then I continued to dig, so I'm ready probably about 8 weeks out, and I continue to dig when people around me are like, don't, like, chill, take it easy.
Sure.
And crazy enough, but I actually went back to Florida to see my sister, and I got home from that vacation, and I maintained a diet, a 10-day vacation. I did not go off track once. I didn't miss a cardio session, a weight session. Like, I was like to a T, and I came back, and I was like, I literally ruined my vacation because I felt like dog crap the whole time. And then come back, and I was like, when's the next show? Like, when's the next closest show I can get on scene? I knew there was one in Albany, but I ended up finding this one out in Boston by the same organization. I was like, yep, signing up.
Yep.
I don't care that I have to buy a hotel, whatever. I want to get this shit over with. So I went out to Boston about 10 days after a 10-day vacation, which is kind of crazy. Like, most people, I remember like being on vacation, waiters are like, how the hell are you? You're getting chicken and broccoli? And it's like, yeah. And so did that, and I think I placed 4th. That was my first show ever, and I was a nervous like wreck because it's so like overwhelming getting on stage in front of people, and you're kind of like, there's these hot lights on you, and you're eating carby food, so you're like pumped up and looking full, and there's this competitive nature, and like you want to kind of show up to people around you.
What's like the so what's like that? What's the atmosphere like when you know that your competition, like you're just trying to like look, like, is it like friendly? Do you guys like respect among one another, or is it kind of like a dog fight out there?
I don't know. I feel like there's always like 1 or 2 guys that you can tell backstage are like, they're here for victory, and like they don't want anything to do with anyone. The way that I look at it is, I've spent the last 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 weeks to get ready for this day. I'm going to enjoy the hell out of it.
Yeah.
And usually I'm like, you're eating food, you're making friends with people from all over. I mean, now I've done them in Boston, Albany, New Hampshire, and New Jersey. So it's like meeting people from all over the entire kind of Northeast and people that share a similar passion. That's the one thing too, because you don't meet too many like people that are into bodybuilding, but then you have people that actually have competed, and that's like a select few within the fitness community. So to be around 50, 60, 70 other men and women that are competing along, like they know what it took to get there. They know that struggle of being low body fat and not eating a carb when you need it, and waking up hungry in the middle of the night and not being able to have that snack. So it's really cool to be surrounded by like a group and community of people that like are on the same mission as you. So that is definitely like a positive of doing that. And you know, you hear people with all different types of stories. I think I'm very unconventional, by the way, because like I said, that first time around I did it in Boston, placed 4th, and then the Albany show was 3 weeks later, and after already being in a shitty situation for about a month and a half, like you would think you'd be like, yo Chris, like back out. No, like I gotta compete on my home turf now because I didn't win. And then so 3 weeks more of suffering, ruining my summer, putting myself through absolute hell, and then I think I came in like 3rd in that one.
What are they judging? Like,
so
what are they judging?
So they're judging your symmetry, stage presence, like.
Explain symmetry.
So symmetry is like your muscle bellies, like the way your shoulders are proportionate to your waist, your leg size, maybe how. So like there's leanness, overall leanness, and I feel like in a lot of natural bodybuilding, like they want to see you like really fucking, sorry for my language, like bone dry and shredded. Like, oh, this guy suffered. Because that's almost how I feel like they kind of want to see you. Like, oh yeah, he's super shredded. And then posing is a big thing. So like the way that you display it, the confidence, the flow of the movement that you make on stage, it almost becomes really clear. Like you could have an amazing physique, amazing body that you've worked for, but if you're super stiff and you look nervous, it sticks out like a sore thumb.
And this is kind of like brings back to what you said about like it's like a pageant.
It is
pageantry.
So the way that you display it, and then even if they say like you do quarter turns, so they'll be like face to front, face to side, kind of like rear, but it's like you're not just up there facing the front and then you like pivot your feet and turn to the side. Like you have transitions that are showing other body parts, sneaking in flexes to draw the judge's eyes towards you. I know one way because I did them at 21 and 22 years old. And I was typically the youngest competitor on stage. Something that I did that led to like my successes, especially in the second time around, was like I would walk on stage because I was having so much fun. Like I used to torture myself, like cut out the world, no friends, no nothing, no like I'm gonna live and breathe and die this shit for 16 weeks, and I was having so much fun that like the confidence of my smile, I would walk out on that stage like I had already won it, and there's a 35-year-old dude next to me that's got 30 pounds of muscle on me, and I would beat him. But I think it's that I would draw the attention of the judges. I would come in great shape, like that's what I've been known for, like to be shredded. But I think I would draw the attention because I was so enthusiastic and so confident, and that was like that's the pageantry. There's guys that are up there that look 10 times better than me, but they look stiff as a board and like they're miserable, they don't want to be there, and they put in just as much work as me, and they've been doing it just as long, but the difference was I played a part that day and they didn't. Like I put on an act. So that's like something like you can't, no matter how much practicing you do, when there's hundreds of people in an audience staring at you with your shirt off, and there's judges watching you, it's scary. Like you're shaking, like you're nervous. There's nothing comfortable about it, especially the first time. But yeah, it's for me, it's fun. Like I think it's really cool to get out there and display all that hard work, and when you put it in that like the hard work's done. So it's like if you can go in there with the mindset like the hardest part's already over, now just go have fun, enjoy it, and eat a bunch of rice cakes backstage so you look veiny. Like there's nothing wrong with that. And that's why, and I learned it pretty quickly, like especially my first couple shows, like I would be looking to the guys next to me and be like, oh, they're huge, like clearly more developed than me, clearly bigger, stronger, but I realized that I was beating them, and it wasn't a matter of,
it was like that confidence.
It
like
was
that
the stage presence,
that stage presence.
And that's what the judges would say to me, and they'd be like, every time I would get like a judge's feedback, they called it, but I would get feedback from them, and they'd be like, your confidence, like you're someone that we can remember.
Yeah, hell
and
yeah.
like I've been invited back to shows by the promoters, like by judges, like because they want to kind of see a young kid do it.
Yeah, hell
per
yeah.
se.
That's amazing.
So it's been fun.
Yeah, but so you would do and sign up for one in the future. What about like at this point in time?
So it's really to do a bodybuilding show. It's something that it's not like you make like a last minute kind of game time decision. It's something that you really have to prepare for and be regimented, I believe. I think so. Would I do it again? I want to. Like I think it was a dream of mine that has always been kind of pushed to the side because in college there was nothing to worry about. You went to school and I could be a bodybuilder lifestyle. Now there's obviously so much going on with the business and everything and training schedule, so it's very hard to have that routine and dedication to be like, I'm going to wake up at 4, I'm going to do my workout from this time to this time, I'm going to eat my meal, I'm going to do my cardio, I'm going to then take a nap. Like this is kind of like the lifestyle of a bodybuilder. And another thing too is like when I was doing the shows, it was a lot of shutting out the world around me because it was like I was focused on one day, one goal, and making every day like perfect and the best it could be. And there's a lot of commitment, like the practicing and posing. So I really would love to see myself give it another crack. Like I want to win that pro card, which I would need to place first in the open class, they call it.
Okay.
Which means everyone of all ages and skill levels are competing against each other to win number 1 overall.
Okay.
And the last show that I did, I came in second, and that's what I was kind of saying in the beginning. And the first time around I had over-dieted. I had come in too emaciated, like skinny, stringy. The second competition season, I had my buddy who I had met at one of the first shows that I did. He oversaw everything and would say, like, you need a cheat meal. You need to do this. You need to do that. And having those second pair of eyes helped me not get too skinny and shredded.
Okay.
It kept me fuller and not over-dieting. So having that second pair of eyes definitely helped. And I came in a little bit heavier, fuller, stronger, but still really lean. And I'll never forget, like, coming in second, the guy that beat me, rightfully so, like, this guy he was probably like 40 years old, trained probably 20 years of his life, 200 pounds shredded, like, solid muscle build, like, he earned that. And he killed it on the stage, too, so there was no doubt in my mind. But I think what always left me bitter was I competed, and literally like 2 days later was a shutdown, or 3 days later. Like I competed
COVID?
Saturday, yeah.
Oh wow.
And then I came home back to New York, and it was like shut down that Tuesday. And at the time we had no idea what was going on, but I remember talking to Jared Shepard from out in Boston, who was overseeing me, and I was like, dude, like, we'll just hold off and we're going to give this another crack. We're going to get the pro card.
Yeah.
And COVID's happening, so I'm working out in the basement. And I'm like, yo, this show's not canceled yet. It's 3 weeks away. Like, we'll do this one. And then that show would get canceled. And I'd be like, oh, there's a show now in another 3 weeks. And so that almost like that same thing that happened in the first go around of like, I'm going to continue dieting when I shouldn't be. And we tried to like keep me at like a maintenance, but it ended up like with no end in sight to the COVID. I just said, time to switch up the goal.
Sure.
And that's what keeps things interesting too. So at that point I said, we're not going to be competing, and I'm happy I did because there was not another show, I don't think, the entire calendar year.
So you're just kind of killing yourself.
Yeah, so and people would die. Oh my, I feel bad because people would diet, and there were shows in like New Hampshire, Massachusetts in the summer of 2020, and then at the last minute, a week before, they posted cancellation.
No shit.
Like imagine dieting and getting that lean for a direct day and goal, and then them, and I was like, if that happened to me, no.
And that actually brings up a question that I have. Like, so what would you say is like what makes it transition from like dieting, like a regular diet someone's on, to like you're going for bodybuilding? Like it's like I feel like obviously it's a next level of like an extreme, right. But at what point does that transition? Like where does that happen? That extremeness?
I think the extremeness comes when it becomes almost an obsession and an unhealthy obsession. So like there's one thing to diet down to like be ready to go on the beach and look good and have a six-pack. Like I don't think there's nothing wrong. Like there's nothing wrong with that. You're doing your cardio, you're eating healthy foods. but it's when you get to a point where you're really lean and you know you're starting to make yourself unhealthy because your hormones are out of whack, maybe you're experiencing the mood swings, maybe you're very lethargic. And like, I know like when I was when I was lean like that, it's like I would wake up, I'd go to the gym, I'd work out, I'd come home and I'd have to take a nap.
Yeah.
I would wake up an hour later and try to like scavenge any energy that I could to be like, I'm gonna go walk on the treadmill. And then I would go walk on the treadmill, and it was like from that, then I would need another nap. Like when your energy is that low and you're like real, and I mean heart rate's really slow, like now we're in an unhealthy state that's not maintainable. So unless you have like a photo, so at that point, like if you want to push yourself that far and not call it bodybuilding, schedule yourself a photo shoot. Like do something of some sort to have that deadline, but then you need to reverse the mindset and say we need to get to a place where at least I'm healthy. So that can be really tricky because you're seeing yourself at a state that's super lean and shredded, and like now to go the other way is so hard mentally to overcome. Like, oh, I just worked really, really hard to get this great looking, and now, and especially when you are that lean, your body is like a dried out sponge. In a drop of water, it's gonna just absorb.
Do you think that the level, like to have as much success to get like a pro card or something, do you think feeling that kind of shitty, honestly, for no better words, is like inevitable? Like that's part of the process?
It is.
Or okay.
Yeah.
To get to that like little level.
I think that, yeah. And I think there's different like levels to it. So what I've learned, so if I decide, which it is one of my 22 goals to get back onto the stage at some point this calendar year, to have my life in that unison of balance, to be able to do it, I would preferably like to give myself a shorter time to diet, not go at it as hard, and if anything, I'd rather show up and be too fat that day. Because to me, like, over dieting is just as worse as coming in with too much fat on my body. I'd rather step on stage and be like, I probably could have gone a little bit harder, because there's probably going to be a show, 2-3 weeks later, that if I did be like, yeah, no, I had another 2 or 3 weeks of dieting, all right, well, this is a practice one, let's do it. And
sure.
Then, I just don't think I ever want to hold myself, because I mean mentally, like holding yourself hostage for so long of like weeks of just feeling tortured, almost, in a sense. Sure. Because and it sucks because it's a mental strength to do that, but what sucks is you can't tell your body, like your body doesn't know the difference between this is real life, we're starving, or no, like obviously I'm sitting at home and there's plenty of food around me.
Yeah, exactly. I
could go to the grocery store and I could get a burger and feel better, but but the body doesn't know that. Physiologically, it's like we're starving, we're dying. So those negative effects are gonna come when you reach that level of leanness. But I will say, like, being around 8%, I typically feel okay. If anything, a little bit of like hypoglycemic after like a hard leg day, but you have a meal and you're feeling fine. 7, 6, that's when you're starting to feel that like lethargic, dry mouth. 5, 4, 3, that's when you need those naps, like after everything. Yeah. And like obviously at this stage in the game, doing what I'm doing, I can't afford to take those naps.
How low would you say the calories ended up getting when you were getting that super low?
It's crazy because both competitions were different. The first competition season, because it was so long, they never really came below maybe 20, I think like 2,300, 2,400 was like a really low day. Like, oh man, 400 carb, I'm digging today. Literally, like that's how it was. And the second time around, I was dieting, and I got like pretty lean, probably around 8%, and me and my ex-girlfriend had broken up, and I was like, fuck bodybuilding, like I'm over it. And I remember this is 3 weeks before that last show, I went out to Saratoga and I binge ate, I got drunk as a mother, and I remember I had an entire pizza in the backseat of my buddy's mom's car at the time, and literally whole pizza. She made me ice cream sundae when I got home. Like I was like, I'm so over this, like literally ate probably a 10,000 calorie blowout. I woke up the next day and said, oh, I got 19 days.
No shit.
And I literally, I took 19 days of like no carb, like vegetable only and protein, and that's the lowest I'd ever had dieted. And that was like, there was some days that were like 1,700 calories. but on top of that, 2 hours of cardio and 2 hour weight training session. So you're talking like 4 hours of physical activity on 1,700 calories for someone who only, the lowest he got was like 2,400 for this time before. So I pushed myself for like 3 weeks and dropped like, I think like 15 pounds post binge to the show. And like I said, it was probably the best I ever looked. And it was funny because backstage people were like, I haven't had a burger and so I was like, oh man, 3 weeks ago I was like pissed drunk and eating pizza. And now I'm here with you fine folks who have been suffering for so long. And so there's like different ways, like too, like keep in mind there's people can move more and eat more to lose the weight, or like move less, eat less. So I'm one of those people, like I would rather move more and eat more to lose the weight. Like I don't, that's scary for me, seeing like 1,700, 1,600 calories, just because I know that like that's under probably my BMR. So like any activity I'm doing is almost like a negative. So I don't like that. I'd rather, and if I could be like do it 24/7, like full-time bodybuilding, like that'd be sick too. But I mean, I'm not there. But at one point, I kind of was, because it was just like you did your bodybuilding, and then you did your homework in school. And as a student, I feel like it was almost like a prime time, because you have your set schedule too with your classes. So like you knew like train, go to class, eat this meal, go to class, eat this meal. It was everything was in Tupperware. Where now, you know, you guys, days are all over the place. It makes that regimen harder.
What I'm trying to think. All right, so. What are like the steps, the practical steps, young person, anyone listening that's like, you know what, maybe it's something that I want to give a shot. Like, where does someone start? How does someone go?
I think the first thing to do, if you're watching this, is literally reach out to me and like come and have a conversation. Because what I can do is really better describe like in detail, like what the process is going to be like. And not only that, I would want to oversee you or have someone overseeing you, because I think somewhere where I went wrong, especially the first time around, was not having any accountability or someone to tell me to like lay off the gas pedal. And I went really hard on myself, never giving myself any like liberty to even have an M&M, like, and that created a very, like I said, it was almost like torture. So what I would want is like someone to reach out and, you know, what are the pros, what are the cons, is this a good time in my life, like am I in a good spot in life to be able to like handle some of this, and what should I do if I start to feel these ways. The second go around, my parents couldn't even tell that I was going to compete, because I had learned to almost manage those waves of energy and that snapping effect. I had gotten better at controlling and understanding the why behind that, because so now I knew like, okay, well this is just one of those waves, like the diet brain's kicking in, you're feeling agitated, take a deep breath and like respond to the people around you with love and you know, and consideration.
Absolutely.
So it's like something like, if someone wanted to get involved, I would definitely like link up with me and just feel free to message me, come into the gym and we can have a conversation. And I've done that for people, and I just display like, here's the pros, here's the cons, this is why it's so great, this is why it might not be so great. What do you think is going to be best for you?
Sure. Yeah, dude, that makes a lot of sense.
And like I said, it doesn't have to be bodybuilding. Bodybuilding's sick because you're on stage, but you could also, you know, schedule a photo shoot at like a gym here. And like then you have that deadline, like I'm going to push really hard through July, you know, 1st, and now I'm going to be really in great shape for summer, and I have these sick photos, you know, like quality. You know, you're still kind of booking that date of accountability, and I think that's something that bodybuilding was great at too, was you're booking a date, so you have a goal deadline, and you're putting money on it too. So like I'm putting money on, almost like betting on yourself. Like I'm putting money on this date that I'm going to be in the best shape of my life. Now, I don't want to cheat on my diet, because I made a commitment to myself and the people around me, and then put my money on that too.
Yeah, exactly. That makes a lot of sense actually. I didn't realize how much the money as well.
Like I said, you have the opportunity to link up with people that are like-minded. You saw Will was here today, William Q. I met him at a bodybuilding show. My buddy Jared met at a bodybuilding show. There's plenty of them on Instagram that I'm still in contact with from all the shows that I've done. And it's great to see where some have progressed as far as their bodybuilding career, and some that have never stepped on stage since the day that we did it way back when. But the good news is almost everyone that I've seen that I've connected with is still in some way involved in the fitness community, putting content out, things of that nature. So,
what are the rules on tattoos?
You can have them.
You can?
Yeah.
Someone told me a white lie that you couldn't have tattoos.
You can have tattoos. Sometimes they do hinder like seeing the muscle belly, but you can have tattoos. Even in professional like Mr. Olympia bodybuilding, you can have tattoos.
Sure.
No drugs in the organization I'm with, which is the OCB, but there are like untested federations. We get polygraph tested in urine sample.
You get polygraph tested?
Yeah, it's kind of scary.
Wow.
They ask you, they're like, have you ever lied to your parents? I'm like, yes.
Yes.
Or have you ever stolen from your parents? I'm like, yes. I'm thinking back to like my dad's coin jar that I used to steal coins from and go to Stewart's with when I was like 6. But they ask you loaded questions that like you're not ready for. Like,
yeah, sure.
Have you ever stolen from your parents? And like instinctually you want to be like, no.
Yeah.
But then you think about it and your heart rate goes up and you're like, yes. Fucking like you're sweating and shit.
That's wild.
Oh yeah.
Well, man, it sounds, dude, bodybuilding, it sounds like an experience that you've learned, like, so much from, just, like, from listening to, like, and the thing is, like, you've had, like, I'm sure you would go back and do things differently, like, had you known, but is that not, like, with life and anything, like, there's learning curves to everything. If you hadn't gone through those lows, then you wouldn't have been able to adapt and adjust for the next
I would not be the man I am today if it wasn't for competing. I learned so many things about myself, my body, mentally, what I could handle, and I think that if you're really into the sport of bodybuilding, I think give it a go. Do one show. And just do it with guidance. Make sure that there's people around you that understand what's going on, that you can relate to, that way when you are feeling like crap or you're not feeling your best or maybe you mess up, like you want someone who's going to be there for you. And if you have that, I don't see the harm in at least trying one, see if it's for you or not. You might end up loving it. Some people, I mean, my buddy Will, like, he's competed probably like 10, 15 times. Like, he loves it, and he's a pro now. And
it's like you hear, like, obviously people throwing shade about bodybuilding here and there, but if it's like, if people love it, I mean, there's so many bodybuilders that, like, you can say you did suffer, and it's excruciating, so tough. But I also know for sure some of those bodybuilders right after the show and they've been suffering, they sign up for another fun competition, like right away, like right afterwards.
And to be honest, if people hate on it, like, they haven't even done it.
Yeah, sure.
For the most part. Like, if you've done one, you're not going to be hating on it.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, any other questions for me?
No, dude. I think this is awesome.
Yeah, and I know we
learned a lot.
We have a lot of young kids that are getting into it, especially here with like influencing, and they want to try it out. And like I said, it's a great goal to have, great deadline, something to look forward to. Like, you've been dieting so hard, you want to display that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And not just on the beach, like in front of and not only that, like professional photographers, everything like that. You're getting all those pictures. I have pictures, and there's a lot of pros, you're about to talk me into doing one now. I'm about to talk myself into doing one. Sign me up.
Sign me up. There we go.
Once I can get my schedule on track.
Yeah, there we go. That's something else we're gonna work on. But dude, no, this was amazing, bro. I'm learning.
And I'm happy you thought of this because I think it's a good topic.
Yeah.
And
that's a perfect time.
That's a perfect time. It's episode 11. We're getting an incoming phone call. Caller number 19. We will catch you on the next one.
Peace.
Thank you, guys.